I think it's high time the rest of that floor comes out of here. What do you guys think? Welcome back, DJ from Shop 81, and like I said, I think it's time to get the floor out of the Nova. But to do that, first we need to drop the rear end out of it, because the rear end bolts up to the underside of the rear seat pan. It's dark outside, and got to get to it from the open door, so let me spin you around. So, we'll flick the light on. We've started dropping it. Wheels are off. The struts are off of it. These guys are broken free, and we've got, I believe, nothing on the front spring pockets holding those in. Those just being held up by the jack mostly, and whatever tension is still left in it. And I've got one bolt on this one over here. Let me see if I can lay down and show you at all. Oh, that light doesn't help at all. So that one, let's stay right there. That'd be neat. It's gonna fall. So this one bolt right here, and unfortunately, it's got some tension on it because this pocket's basically resting on it. But unfortunately, I don't know if someone nut and bolted this. I don't really know how they managed that. The other side was going up into the threaded pocket like it's supposed to. I'm not sure what's going on here. Threaded, it's either nut and bolted from inside the frame rail or just underneath the rear seat pan. I'm not entirely sure. So I'm gonna cut this out one way or the other. I might cut a little hole right above the, right on the inside of the car in the seat pan down to the frame rail and just kind of see what's going on. But once we do that, this thing should just fall right out. I should be able to drop the jack down. I've got the jack underneath it just to hold it up a little bit for safety, as safe as it can be. This is a little sketchy to do by myself, but do what you gotta do. So yeah, get that one bolt out, knock the bolts out of the rear leaf spring mounts, and drop this thing on the ground. And then I somehow need to find the room to slide it out. I didn't leave myself a lot, so that'll also be an adventure. So we're gonna get that knocked out, and we'll keep going from there. All right, so she's free everywhere. Front purchase, both sides. You can't really see the other side too well. Oh, the light's gonna blind you. Oops, tripping. Back here, free. And I did forget that strut is, one of the bolts is seized in, up going into the body, but it's broken free from the perch, so that's all good. So now I just need to find a way to get this thing out of here through option one, option two. Yeah, so I assume this is gonna go one of one ways, so let me work on that. And if it comes out, we'll come back, and if it doesn't come out, we'll come back. Okay, we got the rear end out. So it didn't fight me too bad. We just kind of had to, you know, work it around everything, get it out of there. It wasn't fun, but it wasn't terrible. We also have gone ahead and just chopped the U-bolts and pulled all the rear leaf spring, the perches, or leaf springs and perches off of the diff. So that's gonna live there for right now. The leaf springs are, they're okay. The bushings are actually not terrible. I'm a little dry rotted, but especially the mills here, not terrible. But leaf springs are okay. The perches aren't horrendous. The pockets are a little crusty. Little something going on there. Kind of the same thing over here. So a lot of that'll probably be replaced. We obviously need new U-bolts now. It's in this pile of nonsense. I don't think I can see them anymore. I don't know. They're back here and the door's shut. I'll grab those before we wrap up. But those are the bolts that held the rear end, or the rear of the leaf springs in the car, and they're shaped like bananas. So I'm guessing those aren't reusable. But anyway, what we're gonna do now is gonna go ahead and jump inside the car. I'm gonna set you guys up on the tripod, get a light in here so I can see what I'm doing. And we are, in pieces, gonna cut out what's left of this floor all the way up to start to expose a seam back there where it meets the trunk. So we'll probably stop a little bit short of that. I think before I cut, I need to take a measurement of these guys right here. This is for your rear seat because these do not come on the new floor pan. I don't think these do. Oops, I don't think these guys do either. So I know those don't. I don't think those do. So I've got to do some looking to check on the rear mounts there, and I also need to take a measurement for probably both of them just to be safe, just to know where they sit, have an idea about where they sit, and I gotta make sure I save those. But in addition to that, go back around here, I'm not really sure why I went on that side. We're also gonna try to strategically cut to save our frame rail. So this is your main rail here. It goes all the way the full length. That side's still underneath the floor, but that's where your body mounts are. That's where it mounts to the subframe. These are just added supports. They kind of stop right in here somewhere, and then there's nothing in the tunnel, and then the other one starts about right here on the other side, and those go straight over to the rockers. So that one's a little bit cooked. I at least want to get it off and see what it looks like. That one, if I remember correctly from what I could see, is a little bit better. You can buy those, both the brace rails and the main frame rail there. You can buy replacements, but this one especially is in pretty decent shape. So I'm gonna try to cut that out, save it, wire wheel it, throw some primer on it just to protect it, and we'll throw it downstairs in the basement. And maybe we'll use it, maybe we won't. But yeah, measurements for the rear seat mounts, or the hooks there. Check on those furthest rear brackets there, and save what we need to save. And other than that, she's coming out. So I'm gonna take my measurements and we'll be right back. Okay, full disclosure, it's been a few weeks. I know I've said in some of the videos that have come out before this one that we've been all over the place as far as our filming schedule, kind of filming out of order, starting one thing, filming it, working on another thing, watching paint dry, all that kind of stuff, waiting for parts. So what we did, and you guys would have seen, is we got the rear end out of the car, and we cut the floor completely out of it. And you may have seen some clips in other videos of the new floor pan sitting in it. It's up there right now. Gonna start scuffing it and cleaning up the welding flanges, maybe punch some holes, just getting it ready. The thing I've been fighting with, and the reason this took so long, is because I had some thinking to do, and I'm still not quite done thinking. So in the meantime, we decided to move on to other stuff. We did the subframe and the firewall started working on some other stuff that hasn't come out yet. But the problem I was running into was over here, these frame rails. So this would normally be a pretty, this isn't something you want to screw with. And they're not horrible, but they're just crunchy enough up here that I kind of decided to stop and pause and think, do I want to change them? And the only reason I'd even consider changing them is because we're essentially going to have, where's my key to my trunk? There we go. We're essentially going to have these things fully exposed. So they go, if you're a Nova guy or you've done several subframe kind of cars, I'm sure you know this already, but for those that don't, the frame rails sit, I'm going to get underneath there. You can kind of see it. This is it right here. Right here. So they come all the way back to this rear flange, this rear panel here, which this thing is toasted. So this is going to be getting changed. And they run all the way underneath the trunk. And you can kind of see them coming down over there. They go under the back seat, and that's where they made up to the front of the car, kind of connects the front and rear. So because daylight here and just how grungy the trunk is and the braces underneath it for the gas tank, which I know they sell, those are all rotten. So the trunk as a full unit isn't terrible, the trunk floor, but it's rotten and rusted through in enough spots that it would be just basically a patchwork quilt to patch what I have and not replace it. And they're not cheap, but for the ease of just a one-piece trunk floor, I'm pretty sure we're going to go that route. And like I said, the rear tail panel, or the rear panel behind the bumper, is also going to get replaced because that is just rotten to hell. So these frame rails are going to be fully exposed. And a lot of people I've seen in the past, if you're worried about right here, you might cut it here and just splice in this much of it from a new one. I don't see the point in spending, I think they're $250, $300, buying $500 plus worth of frame rails to use 18 inches of them in total, especially if by the time I'm done, I'm basically going to have the original ones not attached to anything. So if I buy new frame rails, I'm using the entire frame rail. I don't want to buy new frame rails, and I also worry about the fitment. That's one of those things that, your rear, it sets your rear end. It ties the front and rear of the car. I don't want to have to screw with that too much as far as fitment. So we paused to think about it. I'm still thinking about it. I think what I'm going to do is get inside the car and just try to wire wheel and clean these up as if I'm going to use them. And I might, if I find some thin spots, I might even start cutting some out, get some thicker steel, and try to weld in some patches, maybe plate it a little bit, and fix the flanges where it's going to mate up to the new floor, and we'll go from there, because these are a little bit, this one's, it just broke off a little bit. Actually, the metal itself isn't actually too bad, but yeah, so we're going to play with those a little bit and see what we think. And like I said, I might do a little bit of repairing on them and maybe just not weld them to the new floor yet until I see the rest of them, because from underneath they don't look bad. Once they start pulling trunk floor out and get a good look, we'll make a decision then. But we're going to wrap this one up. Floor is out. New floor is behind me, ready to get prepped. And yeah, we're moving forward pretty quick here. It's not going to be long. You guys would have already seen the firewall all done and shoddy camera work. The subframe all painted, now moved out of the way. So we're moving along at a pretty good clip as far as getting stuff on the car, getting some finish work done on the car. And once the floor goes in, we can think about sealing up the inside of this car. And if I get ambitious or want to see something finished, we can maybe start putting some interior in it just for fun, just kind of get the vision. But that is it for today. Like I said, we're going to do all the things I just talked about. So thank you for watching. Subscribe below. Leave me a comment below too. Let me know what you guys think about these rear frame rails. I know most people shy away from doing them. It's not that I'm shying away from it, and most people maybe don't shy away from it either. It's not one of the things you want to deal with. So let me know your take on it. I'll be giving you guys updates probably in the next video where we get into the floor, and let you know how it goes cleaning them up and what we've kind of been leaning towards, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. So let me know, drop a like, and We will see you next time.